The story of the colonization of America is one of ambition, struggle, conquest, survival, cultural exchange, tragedy, and transformation. Beginning with the first European encounters in the late 15th century when Christopher Columbus, sailing under the Spanish crown in 1492, reached the Caribbean islands believing he had found a western route to Asia. His voyages opened the floodgates for Spain, Portugal, France, England, and the Netherlands to explore, conquer, and settle lands across the vast American continents. The Spanish were the earliest and most dominant in the 16th century, sending conquistadors like Hernán Cortés, who in 1519 defeated the mighty Aztec Empire, and Mexico, and Francisco Pizarro, who in the 1530s crushed the Inca Empire. In Peru, Spain established colonies stretching from Florida to Argentina, building missions, mines, and cities, extracting silver and gold that fueled European wealth. Yet this came at a terrible cost to indigenous peoples who faced enslavement, forced labor, disease epidemics like smallpox, and cultural suppression. Millions perished in what some call the Great Dying. Portugal meanwhile claimed Brazil after the Treaty of Tordesillas divided the New World between Spain and Portugal, focusing on sugar plantations worked by enslaved Africans, marking the beginning of the brutal transatlantic slave trade that would shape the Americas for centuries. France entered the race, sending explorers like Jacques Cartier and Samuel de Champlain to Canada, establishing New France along the St. Lawrence River, trading furs with indigenous nations such as the Huron and Algonquin, forging alliances, but also introducing conflict and competition. The Dutch founded colonies, creating New Netherland with its capital New Amsterdam, later to become New York, while England, initially slower, eventually became the most influential colonizer in North America, beginning with the ill-fated Roanoke colony in the 1580s, then the permanent settlement at Jamestown in Virginia in 1607, financed by the Virginia Company, where colonists struggled with famine, disease, and tense relations with the Powhatan Confederacy. Yet tobacco cultivation, pioneered by John Rolfe, brought profit and stability. The Pilgrims followed, landing at Plymouth in 1620, seeking religious freedom, drafting the Mayflower Compact as a form of self-governance. New England Puritans built tight-knit communities while clashing with native groups like the Pequot and Wampanoag, leading to wars such as King Philip's War in the 1670s. As the 17th century progressed, England established 13 colonies along the Atlantic coast, each with distinct economies and cultures, from the plantations of the South producing rice, indigo, and tobacco with enslaved African labor, to the middle colonies like Pennsylvania, founded by William Penn as a haven for Quakers, promoting tolerance and trade, to the northern colonies with small farms, fishing, and early industry. Throughout these regions, conflict with native peoples was constant, as European settlement displaced tribes, sparked wars, and fueled cycles of violence and negotiation. Meanwhile, the transatlantic slave trade expanded massively, with millions of Africans captured, transported in horrific conditions across the Middle Passage, and sold into lifelong bondage, building the wealth of colonies and empires alike. The Caribbean islands became centers of sugar production, with brutal slave systems under Spanish, English, French, and Dutch control. By the 18th century, European rivalry shaped the Americas, as wars fought in Europe spilled over into colonial conflicts. The French and Indian War, part of the global 7 Years' War, saw Britain and France battling for dominance in North America. Britain's victory in 1763 secured Canada and much of the eastern half of the continent, but also left Britain in debt, leading to taxes and policies that angered American colonists, sparking resistance and the eventual American Revolution. Colonization was thus not only a story of European expansion, but also of the birth of new identities, cultures, and nations. Spanish colonies in Latin America blended European, indigenous, and African influences, creating rich and diverse societies, yet also entrenched hierarchies. While English colonies developed traditions of self-government, commerce, and dissent that would culminate in independence. The legacy of colonization is complex, bringing new technologies, crops, animals, and global connections. but also immense. Suffering dispossession of indigenous peoples, the enslavement of millions, and centuries of inequality still from the first voyages of Columbus to the establishment of colonial empires stretching across the continents. The colonization of America reshaped the world, linking the old world and the new in ways that continue to define history. Today, a tale of power and survival, tragedy and triumph, one that echoes in the nations and peoples of the Americas even now.